very excited that I got a chance to interview Sam Estes and Michael Hube of Sonicsmiths. Last year, Sonicsmiths released its flagship instrument, the Foundry, which was an entirely new take on a sound design. Now, don't let the one release from Sonicsmiths fool you. The duo has created hundreds of sound design instruments and have exclusive credits on film and television. I asked Sam what his favorite library he's developed has been.
I think my favorite sample library I've ever created was probably for the Sherlock Holmes movies. We did a lot of design with some chimbalomes and with some dulcimers. And it was a lot of fun to experiment using different activations on the strings to come up with some really cool and unique sounds. So in terms of a whole library set, I would say that was some of my favorite. But we also had a chance to go to the Musical Instrument Museum, and there's so many cool things there, and we got to play with those and record those. That was an experience.
Now, with that library you built for Sherlock Holmes, was that a private library for remote control?
Yeah, at the time I was working for Hans for his sample team, and we helped design a lot of those samples for Hans to use in that film.
I then got a chance to ask them both about challenges. I first asked Sam about challenges with the Foundry.
We wanted to really make a toolkit for people to use, and something that's not just a pad library, not something that's just a pulse library, but a library that you could pretty much do anything with, because the sample content's so varied in its approach and how it's supposed to be used. That we wanted to give composers who knew nothing about sound design or everything about sound design a toolkit to be able to use to get to where they need to be as fast as possible without having any presets. And that was the biggest challenge and the biggest rethink as we were designing the library, going, the number one problem that composers have with sound design libraries is spending most of their time finding sounds.
Then I asked Michael a little bit about what's been one of the more challenging libraries for them to work on to date.
I would say, ones we've done recently, we're working with Junkie on Mad Max, and love working with him because he always tries to push us far beyond our comfort zones, which is great because I feel like I need to, learn and always gain something new every day. But it can be very challenging to someone at his level of sound design. It's like there's no fooling, there's none of that. So it's like he knows what you can do. And so we had to craft some very unique sounds, and it was very hard to pinpoint it just right. Some of it is like, here, I want you to do this thing that's impossible, but we're going to make it work. And that's always the challenge, I love that part because, nothing is impossible, generally. So we always try and go as crazy as we can to make their ideas really come to life.
I then got a chance to hear from Sam a little bit about how Sonicsmiths operates, creating unique custom libraries for composers.
Sonicsmiths is primarily a private sound design library company. We do synth work and percussion work and some private actual sample libraries for composers. But the biggest thing is it's like whatever the composer needs, doesn't matter how big, how small, we're available. Whether if it's making some synth patches or going and recording some big drums or just kind of helping and facilitating the sonic palette that a composer needs.
I asked Michael about finding inspiration for developing new libraries.
When we're working for a client, generally there's some direction towards it. So there's what they're going for. And from that, it's, we have some creative space that we can really do with that. I tend to do like a variation so we can really hone in on what it is. But for me, it really depends. Like doing something dark, I really need to get into that mindset. And sometimes it's hard. We're in the middle of West LA and it's bright and sunny outside and I have roses. And, I need to go in a dark room for a little bit and do that.
I asked both Michael and Sam about plugins, instruments, tools that are staples to their work.
Passionate about whether it be plugins or software?
Synthmaster by KB331 is by far my favorite synth. We use a lot of synths. Uhi's synths are amazing, Arturia's synths are amazing, but I've kind of gravitated more and more towards Synthmaster over the years. It's got an analog feel to it that I just love.
One of my favorite over the last year is we got some 2C audio reverbs. They have a set of 3. I love reverbs, and their reverbs I find especially useful for sound design elements because we can really not wash the sound, but you can really go to town and make it sound like something else with these simple things. And they're not that expensive. I was really surprised, actually.
I asked the duo about upcoming releases they might be able to tell us a little bit about.
In terms of the Foundry, we're going to be releasing a 1.1 update, which fixes a few minor things, and that's just kind of next on the horizon.
There are many things, unfortunately I can't talk about stuff, but next year.